Hello, everybody. Am I audible to all of you? A quick audio check. Yes, no, maybe. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So, welcome to Way to Automation, guys. This is Ashish Garg. I'll be taking up your classes for Selenium, Python, going to be started from the very next week. Uh, before we start, a brief introduction about myself. I I am pretty much experienced candidate for the same, and I have worked in different terminologies. I have worked in different technologies like Java, Python, PyTest, C Sharp, uh, I, as well as in performance testing. If I talk about JMeter and so many other XYZ technologies. So with the same intention, I will be taking up your sessions going forward. It would be great if I can get the same coordination from all of you. Only one and only one rule in this session, in this class is that be interactive. The more you are interactive, the more the session plays around. Ask questions as many as you can. There will be no hesitation. There will be nothing. Okay. Moving ahead, just want to know a brief idea about the audience I have today. So, all of you just, if possible, can maybe just give a brief introduction that are you working, are you a student, or what, how much years of experience do you carry in Selenium, Python, if I talk about, or only in Python or in any other language. Anybody in the group who wants to start, who wants to initiate the discussion?
Hi Ashish, this is Saurav.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 14 years of experience
Mm-hmm.
and mostly worked in Selenium Java. I have also gone through your other lectures as well. So yeah, a little bit familiar with Python as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Good to hear. Anybody else who wants to go next?
Hey, hi Assis.
Hi, Rakesh.
Uh, Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, myself Rakesh. I have around 7 year experience, both
Okay.
automation and manual testing. I work in initially HPUFT.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I'm working in Selenium WebDriver using Java. No
Okay.
experience in Python.
So you are going to start your career in
Yeah,
Selenium
yes, yes,
Python.
yes.
Okay, great. We are going to start from very basics, from very scratch. So anybody who has a zeal to learn are very much welcome here. Okay, great. Nice to meet you, Rakesh. Anybody next who wants to go?
Hi
Hello.
Ashish,
Hi, Gitika.
myself Gitika and Ashish. I have 10 years of manual testing experience and I'm not into automation, just planning to go with Python and with Selenium. So that's why I'm interested in this course. Hope I learn.
Great. Actually, yeah, that is I admire these people because I myself comes from similar background that who has a zeal to learn, who for whom the age is not a barrier, experience is not a barrier. So great to hear this, Ritika. Always welcome, and I believe you will be coming out as an experienced candidate with 2 to 3 years of experience in Selenium Python.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah. Who would like to go next?
Hi, this is Naveen.
Hi, Naveen.
Hi. I have actually 10 plus years of experience in even for right now. Actually, I'm working with UST Global as a test engineer,
Okay.
and I have actually experience in manual and as well as right now. Actually, I'm working in UFT. So I don't have much experience in Selenium Java, but I learned actually Selenium Java with your actually videos and all. I've seen that, and but now actually I'm planning to move to actually cloud DevOps area. So Python will be easy to actually will be
Connect
using
with
over
this
there.
technology.
Yeah, and so I want to learn actually Python with Selenium.
Yeah, good to hear this, Naveen.
Yeah,
Welcome
thank
to
you.
the group. Yeah, great. So I believe we have pretty much good audience available with us. Good to see this. So let's kickstart the demo session. The demo, in case of any questions, in case of any queries, you are free to ask. Just try to be interactive in the same. And wherever you have a question or a doubt, try posting it in the chat in case if the question is not answered, try unmuting yourself and speak about it. Okay, the very simple and basic rule. So let me share my screen and let's start with the same. Just give me a second. Yeah, I believe my screen is visible to everybody. Can you give me a quick check?
Yes, Ashish.
Okay. When I'm talking about Python, we all have heard about different languages. We have heard about Java, the biggest competitor in market. We have heard about C#. We have heard about C, C++, and so many XYZ languages we have. So why we choose Python when it's compared to other programming languages? Since Java is a good player in the market, why people are moving towards Python? That is a very big fat question in the, actually we say the big elephant in the room, that why is Python more preferred than Java nowadays? Java is great in its own terms, in its own areas. It has no comparison. But we have another player in the market which allows a very standard person, a person with no experience in coding, a person who wants to start himself in this area. Python gives a platform to these people to start with, and it takes them to different heights. It's really very simple. It's only about how you understand things. When I'm talking, it's really very simple. If I ask anybody in the room that there is a program in, you have to write a program where I say where you need to print your name. It sounds very simple to hear. Okay, you need to write a program where you just need to print your name. That's a very, very simple task, right? But I'll show you the comparison in both. Just give me a second. Let me open compilers for both of them. Okay, so first of all, we'll talk about Java. When I'm talking about Java, over here, I said I need to write a program to print your name. So I say my name is Ashish. So I'll just write it like this. Anybody in this room who's not sure what Java is? I want to get an audience who has no knowledge about Java. Please raise your voice, because I want to give you a live example for both of these things. That is okay. Kavya, Kalyani, you said you are not aware what exactly Java is, right? So if I say you, Kalyani, can you explain me this code? Or Manmeet, can you explain me this code? Or anybody who has not worked in Java, can they explain me this code? Can they write a program in Java to print their own name? I believe it is very hard to do so. If I'm talking about as a fresher when I'm saying this. When I'm talking about Python, I will do the same thing like this. Now, line number 9. Is this difficult to read or is this difficult to read? Write a program to print your name. Print your name. Your work is done. No need of all these things. Right. Why this happened? Because Python is a very, very general purpose language. I'm saying Python is a very general purpose language. GPL, general purpose language. It can be used anywhere, it can be used everywhere. You just need to understand basic syntax and your work is done. As a fresher, if I talk about, I do not know what is public. What do I mean by class? What does this mean? Why am I using public again? What is static void? Why am I using main again? What is this? Why I'm using system.out.println? But when I'm talking about here, I know everything. That is one point why why the current generation is slightly tilting towards Python. Okay, now the second thing, write a program to, let's say, add two numbers. Sounds very easy. Let's try this in Python, in Java. If I say add two numbers, A is equals to 10 I want to add, B is equals to 20 I want to do, and then I want to print something. So system dot out dot println A plus B. Let's see running this. It says invalid error, expected a inverted semicolon. Okay, this is one thing. In Python, nothing happens like this. I run it. It says I cannot find a symbol. What is this A? He says I am not sure what is this A. Anybody in the room who is aware about what is Java and who can solve me this error?
Type integer, int A.
Type int, okay. Like this?
Yeah.
Int A. Why did we did so? What was the need of adding integer?
Because you have put to 10. That's why this is 10 is the integer value in Java.
You have to provide the data type.
We need to block the data type. Okay. But okay, as a fresher, I know it is okay. I got to understand okay, int is something. So can we say in Java we cannot do anything unless or until we define a data type for a variable?
Yes, so we cannot do that because compiler unable to identify it is which type of data. That's why you have to define that data type in Java case.
Okay, but I try to do the same here. A equals to 10, B equals 20, print A plus B. Save and run 30, which is better. Java is good in its own terms, but if I talk about flexibility, if I talk about, you know, the more usage, if I talk about complexity, which one is less complex? For me, my vote definitely goes to Python when I'm comparing it with this thing. Therefore, we can say that boss Python is dynamic. Dynamic, when I'm saying it means no need of data types. But does it mean that in Python data types does not exist? No. In Python, data types do exist, but in a different way, in a different form. If I want to check exactly, it looks like you're writing a pseudo code. and you are actually writing your own code. There's a difference, right? Python does not restricts you with syntax. It will not say that you cannot execute a plus b unless or until you will not tell me the type of variable you are giving me. It says I will automatically identify the type of variable, the type of data you are giving me. I will automatically identify it, and I'll evaluate your expression and I'll give you the result. Leave the hassle in the background, focus or more on the logic. But what other programming languages say, focus on the syntax. Focus on the syntax. Forget about the logic. Logic is important in both the things, but still. This is a very basic difference in both of the programming languages. You can also say, if I perform an operation something like after this printing this, I'll say system dot out dot println, and I'll say print C. What will happen here? Let's run it. It doesn't execute anything. It says I have an error. Okay, I'll resolve this error. I'll again run it. It says there is a system variable. There is a error. I cannot perform the further operations. If I do the same thing here, if I say print C, it says C is not defined. Error is still there, but it executed first line, line number 9. It executed line number 12. It stopped at line number 13 and it gave me the error. What was the difference in both the languages? Java is a compile time language where all the errors came at a single time. Unless or until you resolve all the errors, you cannot move ahead, you cannot execute your program. But when I'm saying about Python, Python is an interpreting language. When I'm saying interpreting language, it means it executes the code line by line. It executes line number 9, then line number 10, then 11, then 12. In case if there's an error in any of this line, so the way it happened in line number 13, it stops the execution and it gives the error to the user. So we can say Python is interpreting. Perfect. Now, what one big difference can you see in both of these languages? If I come outside this class and I try to system.out.println and I just print hello, and let's remove this line. It was raising the error. If I run it, it says it is an error. Class interface or enum is expected. But am I using a class here? Am I using a class here? We all know Java is not completely object-oriented programming. It is, but it is not a purely object-oriented programming because of the wrapper classes. But Python is also not a completely pure object-oriented programming language, but it is a general purpose. Here, if I want to use a class, I can also use it in the same function. I'll say class A, print, or I'll do something, whatever. I'll create a function, def data, eta, let's say, and I can just print something. Like this. On the same page, I am using a general code. On the same file, I am using a class. It will not raise the error. It will execute it simple. It will raise the error for language number C. I'll remove this one. Again, run it. You see, no error was raised. Outside class also you can use things, but when you're comparing it with other programming languages, that is not allowed. There are many differences when compared to different programming languages. A basic idea, is it clear to everybody? Or just yes or no, in case if anybody has any questions still here.
Yes.
Yeah, it is case sensitive. Anybody has any questions here? I don't think so. So let's move ahead. Okay. Python follows a very important concept. Python follows a very, very important concept. Let's try to understand that. I have 3 projects. I'll say this is project 1. I'll say this is project 2. This is project 3. Now, project 1 has a set of files or set of libraries which it uses. Suppose I say it uses Python 2. Then it uses Selenium 2 to execute itself. Project 2 uses Python 3 and it uses Selenium 3. Project 3 requires Python, let's say a different version, Python 3.2 and Selenium 4. All these three projects lies in a same machine. All these 3 projects are inside the same machine. The problem comes when you execute project 1. When you execute project 1, it executes successfully. Why? Because you have both the dependencies with you. But when you are executing project 1, project 2 stops working, project 3 stops working. When you start project 2, you install Python 3 and Selenium 3. Project 1 stops working, project 3 stops working. When you start project 3, you uninstall these things, you install these things, due to which this stops working and this stops working. Now, what can I do that all these 3 starts working at the same time? What can I do that all the 3 projects starts working at the same time? Do we have a solution to this problem? Yes, no. What do you guys think?
No, Ashish, no idea.
Run inside Docker.
Run inside Docker.
Docker, what does it internally uses?
It's kind of virtual machine where you can have a separate platform in which it creates its own environment to execute the
End of the day, we are trying to access a virtual machine, right? End of the day, we are trying to access a virtual machine so that all these three projects executes very seamlessly. Python says, I resolved your problem in the same machine. There is no need to log in inside a virtual machine. It says, I'm introducing a new concept to you, which is called virtual environment. It says, I'm introducing a new concept called virtual environment, which we also known as VENV, or whatever name you give. What does this mean? It says, along with the project, add a separate VENV. Along with this project, add a separate VENV, add a specific virtual environment in that project, which will have all the dependencies required to execute that project. It means earlier Python 2 and Selenium 2 were, you know what? Python 2 and Selenium 2 were installed on the complete machine. They were installed globally. But now it says, along with this project machine, I will add a virtual environment which will only have Python and Selenium specific to this project only. It will not be installed globally, so it will be impacting other projects. It will only and only be installed locally to this project, nowhere else. Similarly, another VENV is introduced for project 2, that whatever dependencies, libraries you are using in project 2 will be only specific to project 2, nowhere else. Applies to project 3 as well. Hence, nothing is installed globally and you can execute all the 3 projects at the same time, because every project will be executed in its own VENV only. Is this point clear to everybody? What is a virtual environment?
Yes, Ashish.
Ashish, is the virtual environment a software? What is it actually?
We'll come to it in the next minute. But
Okay.
is the concept clear to everybody? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, yes.
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 Okay, cool, great. The next question comes that how do we create it? What is the process of creating it? So in Python programming language, there is a command. It is called PIP. PIP stands for Python Package Installer. Python Package Installer. It says, I will be installing everything for you regarding Python. How can I do that? I just need to follow the syntax. Pip install and your package name. For example, I'll say pip install Selenium. The moment I write pip install Selenium, it will install Selenium globally, because right now my VENV is not active. It will install Selenium globally. Pip install, suppose OpenPyXL. This is a library to read Excel files in Python. So it will install that specifically. If you want to install a specific version, you can give -v and the version number. Which version you want to install in Selenium or in OpenPyXL. Similarly, using pip only, we create a virtual environment. So what are my steps? My steps will be create a new folder. Why am I creating a new folder? Because I want to create a new project. Create VENV, virtual environment, I'll name it. And the moment I create a virtual environment, what will be my next step? Activate VENV. Once I activate my virtual environment, start working on it. So let's follow the same steps. So the first thing is creating a VENV. So I'll do it using command line for you guys, because that is also something which is need to be known. So this is command line. I'll move to another directory. Let's say E. Here I'll create a new project, CD. Oh, I'll create a new file folder. I'll say mkdir. Mkdir is a command which is used to create a new directory in shell. So I'll say mkdir. Let's name it as Selenium Python 28 August. And I believe it should create it. Yes. I'll say CD change to this directory. So now I am inside my folder SP 28 August. Next, I said I want to create a virtual environment. Let me clear everything. So how to create it? I'll say pip. As I said, everything related to Python will be only installed using pip. Pip install virtual env. It says, okay, Python is not directly installed here. So let's move to the D directory. Let me create a new one here. SP28. CD. And now if I run the above command, let's just a second, unable to create process using this. If I move to my local directory, and now let me create a new project. Pip install virtual environment. I actually think I have shifted my Python. Okay, I have two Python installed in my system. One is this and another is at a different directory. If you guys will execute in your system, it will work correctly. I'll show you how do we do that locally. Let me write the commands. The command says pip install virtual env. The moment you write virtual env, it's virtual environment. After this, the virtual environment is created. Next step is to activate it. I'll show you how do we do that. Now, this is a very basic understanding of how to create a virtual environment. All the manual steps are also created by the IDE. The IDE which we use while using Python is called PyCharm. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, which is a platform where we can actually, code. You can understand it like this. So we use PyCharm for that. How and where can I install it? Just go online and write download Python. First of all, if you go here, this is the official website of Python. The latest version which is available is 3.9.6. Click on this, let it store somewhere. It is of 24 MB, I believe, 25 MB almost. It should be downloaded in few seconds. And I'll explain you what the next steps. Next is if you want to download PyCharm, download PyCharm. The official website is the JetBrains website. If you hit and open this, There are two versions available. One is the professional version, another is the community version. The version which we need is the community version because that is free to use. Okay, because that is an open source version. However, the professional version is a paid version. So I'll go to the community version. It will say I can download somewhere. This is of 370 MB. It will again take some time and it should be downloaded. If I open Python, so right now it says me to either update it or a customized installation. I'll go for a customized installation. You guys will directly install it if you do not have it. It says what all you want to get. Click on everything. PyLauncher is also one thing, but it is not required. Click next. You need shortcuts, add Python to environment variable. This is a very, very important checkbox, guys. This is a very, very important checkbox, add Python to environment variables. It will help you to actually identify your, to stop the hustle of adding Python to your environment variables. It will do it automatically. Give the location where exactly you want to install it and hit install. So suppose I want to install it in some other window. This PC, I'll say in work, I'll install it. It says, okay, I'm installing 3.9.6 over there. The setup takes some time and it does its job. I'm canceling this because I already have 3.9 available with me. So I do not need it. You guys can just go and install it in your own systems before we meet for the next demo session, which is scheduled tomorrow. Once PyCharm is downloaded, this looks like this. Can now set up a Python SDK. Yeah, I do not need Python 9. Actually, we just tried installing something else, so it raised the error. Let me execute a very simple file and verify it is working correctly or not. I do not need to debug it. It says it cannot find Python at blah, blah, blah. I'll use a different interpreter by default then. Okay. So right now I have resolved this issue with a different way, but in your system, this issue will not raise because since I have multiple Python versions, a conflict is raised for the same. Okay, now moving ahead. This is the window of PyCharm after installing, it looks like. We can create a new project. We can just go to file, new project. You need to give the project name. Once you give the project name, it just click create and it creates it. Here's a folder called VENV is created, which is the virtual environment which I talked about. If you open this, it includes library scripts. There's a script called activate. The moment you click on this activate script, it activates your virtual environment. And whatever you install after activating the virtual environment gets installed here. It's a very simple scenario. Let's now try understanding Python, a basic understanding of Python. I believe till here, anybody has any questions, please raise your concerns. Anyone having any questions till here? Yes, no, maybe.
Hello, Ashish. Those guys have no idea about the Python and what are the required then?
There's no required prerequisites for learning Python. It's only you should have a zeal to learn it. Otherwise, we'll start it from scratch.
Okay.
Ashish, actually, you just activated that some folder activate. Means after that activation, that virtual environment will be activated in our system. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly. So this is something which is shown after activation.
Okay.
Once the virtual environment is activated, it will show it like this. So now whatever I install here, so suppose I install pip install Selenium. I hit enter. Right now the configuration is something different. I'll check this configuration later, but it works the same way. Okay.
Okay, one thing, Ashish, actually you just install pip install Selenium. By default, it will be install any version, or we have to mention that version also.
By default, it takes the latest version.
Thanks.
Whatever the latest version is, it takes that. In case if you want a specific version, you can give that.
Sure. Thanks.
Anyone having any questions?
Yeah, I have one thing, Ashish. Shall we follow steps like installation and all along with you, or we do it later? Because this virtual environment thing is not clear for me in the how it is getting activated. Can you please go?
We can do one thing. For today, just download these things, and tomorrow, since we will connect, we will follow step-by-step things.
Okay, and can you please explain this virtual environment, how it is getting activated after the PyCharm you installed? Then you just created new project after that.
PyCharm automatically activates the virtual environment every time.
All right.
You do not need to perform any extra step. Why I clicked on the activate button? Just to show you that when you do it manually, you will see this file is executing this. That's it.
And you created new project like called Selenium Python 24
yes,
August, and then everything is inside this folders. Everything is created.
Yes, automatically created. You do not need to do anything.
And you need to click open this activate file.
No, nothing. So let me also show you. Click on new project. Let me create a new project as demo 28. It's asking me that do you want a new virtual environment or do you want an existing one? So I say I want a new one. It will be stored at this location. I'll say create. Let's open it in a new window. It says creating virtual environment. So it's not a manual step. It's an automatic step for PyCharm. But when you try to do the same manually, in that case, you need these commands.
All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Try installing these things in your systems today. In case if it does not work, then we will follow the step-by-step approach tomorrow. Okay. I'm closing this right now. Anyone having any questions? Yes, no, maybe?
No.
No.
Okay, cool. Now moving ahead. Let's try and understand about variables. What are variables? What are the different types of data types and everything? Okay. This is my memory in my computer. When I'm saying memory. So suppose I am creating some, this is the memory blocks which I have. I have some data stored in my memory. Let's say the data is my name itself. A, S, H, I, S, and H. Now, everything in a memory has a memory address. We all know this. Everything which is stored in the memory has a specific memory address associated with itself. Correct? Aditya, I am muting you right now. In case if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself. Yeah. So I'm saying everything in the memory is associated to a memory address which we have. So what are the memory address? Let's say for A, I have a memory address of 0x45 B, like this. For letter S, I have a memory address 0xAFC784. For H, I have a memory address 0xBE43, and so on. Now, if I ask you, anybody in this session, anybody in this group, if I ask you guys that go and locate the letter S, will you be able to memorize these memory address directly?
No.
Anybody in this group who has the capability to memorize these memory addresses on their tips? I don't think so. If there would be somebody, it would be a very, very difficult task, right? So what is the other way around of locating these things? How can I do that? I say, what will I do? I'll wrap these addresses in a container. I'll wrap these addresses in a container. When I'm saying container, I mean this will be now referred as, I'll say now this, I will be referring it as, let's say, this is my salary. Now, next one. This I'm saying I'm referring it as, it can be anything. I'm giving this a different name. I'm saying I'm referring it as amount. Similarly, it goes to the third one also. Now, if I ask you to locate this value S, can you memorize the value amount? I believe yes. If I ask you to memorize S, you'll simply say, go and locate amount instead of locating this memory address. So what actually happened here? There was data stored in memory, which was assigned a memory address. You wrapped that memory address inside a container. You wrap that memory address inside a container, and these containers are called variables. These containers are called variables. So a variable in any programming language is nothing but a container to store a value. It's a container to store a value. Am I clear to everybody till here? Now, suppose if I say, I say A is equals to 100. What happened here? 100 is a memory is a information. Suppose here I'm saying 100. 100 is some data which is stored at some memory location and which is given the name A. So now whenever I want to access the value 100, I'll say print A. I will access this 100 with this name only. And this name is called a variable. If I now run it, it prints me 100.
It's a pointer to the variable or it's a container? Sir, it's a pointer to the address? No, A is a pointer to the address 100, right?
It does not points, it points to the value. It does not point to the location.
Yes, see, 100 address will be stored in a memory location. So A is just pointing to that address location, right?
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
It's not a container, if I correct me if you...
That is a way of explaining the concepts, Yashwant. Okay, because everybody might not be so much technical with it. So that's why I was just explaining this in the different way.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I show you the ID of A, and I run it, you see this is the memory address which stores the value 100.
Yeah, that is stored in A, right? That is stored
Yeah.
in A. Yeah.
And this A is pointing to this memory address.
Yeah, correct. It's pointing to that address. Okay.
Now, if I would be explaining the same concept using pointers, that would be difficult for everybody to understand.
Okay, fine.
So that is just a way of it. Okay. Anybody having any questions still here? What is a variable and how to use it? Anyone? Yes, no, maybe?
No, Ashish.
No?
You used one method, print ID something dot a, it print the address, right?
Yeah.
That will be that address of that variable, it will, right?
Yes, exactly.
No, address of the variable or address of the value?
Address of the value or variable is pointing to the address of the value.
That's the address of the value. That is, so when you give ID of A, right, it will give the address where it is the A is pointing to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so to clarify that is doubt. So the 100 address will be stored at a particular location, right? When you say ID of A, it will give the address where the A is pointing to.
Yeah, where exactly the location, the value 100 is stored at.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Aditya, can you mute yourself, please? In case if you do not have any questions. Thank you. Now, moving ahead. When we are defining variables, variables have some naming conventions. We understood what is a variable, but variables do have a naming conventions associated with them. Naming conventions includes, the first naming convention says that variables can only begin with A to Z or A to Z or underscore. That whenever you want to begin a variable, you can only and only do it with either capital letters or small letters or an underscore. When I'm saying this, if I say capital A is equals to 100, that this is a valid variable. Small a is equals to 100 is a valid variable. Underscore A is equals to 100 is a valid variable. But when I say 0a is equals to 100, this is an invalid variable. You see, it gives me an error here itself that end of is very expecting this something else. It says this is not a variable. So my naming conventions only says you can only start the variable with capital A to Z or small a to Z or an underscore. Even if I try to give a special character, like suppose ampersand A is equal to 500. No, this is not allowed. Any special character, not allowed. So only and only capital A to Z and small a to Z or underscores are allowed to begin your variables. Secondly, the second rule comes, it says the rest of the identifiers can be anything. The rest of the identifier may be A to Z or small a to Z or underscore and numbers as well. Numbers when 0 to 9. Which means if I define a variable as A underscore underscore A underscore underscore 1 is equals to 400, this is a valid variable. Small a 100 is equals to 500 is a valid variable. Underscore 1 is equals to 500 is a valid variable. But if I say underscore ampersand is equals to 700 is not a valid variable, which means special characters are still not allowed. I hope I am clear to everybody till there. Correct?
Yes.
Great. Now, moving ahead, the third rule. The third rule says it is case sensitive in nature. It says it is case sensitive. When I'm saying case sensitive, if I say A is equals to 100, capital, okay, let's take another variable, is so many A's, small k is equals to 100 and capital K is equals to 100 again. Let's try print the IDs of both. I believe it will print the same because they're at the same location. Right now the IDs should be similar, or let's say print ID of K. Here also the ID of K. You see, right now it is giving me the same memory address. Because, why so? Because 100 is stored at one location only. Both these variables are pointing to the same location. But if I say capital K is equals to 500 and now I run it, both have different locations. What I try to explain here is, it is not important that, you know, it will be pointing to the same thing. It keeps on updating itself. It is case sensitive in nature. Small a and capital A are two different variables. They are not same. Next rule comes that variables cannot be keywords. Now, and anybody can ask, like, what is a keyword? A keyword is a specially reserved variable, specially reserved identifiers, which are only and only reserved by the system. Which are only and only reserved by the system, by the programming language, and which you cannot use. So if somebody comes and say if is equals to 400, it is not allowed. You see, you can see if is now colored in dark. Why? Because if is a reserved keyword which has a special meaning. Which has a special meaning. If somebody says and is equals to 700, not allowed. Why? Because it again has a special meaning in Python. So there are 32 keywords in all in Python programming language which cannot be used as the same variable name. We'll come to see them later. The concept is variables cannot be keywords, but yes, we can use capital if. Capital F equals to 400 is allowed. Why? Because it is case sensitive. Small if and capital F are not same. Capital and is equals to 700 is allowed because both are different. So variables cannot be keywords. These are some rules which we need to take care when we do define a variable in Python programming language. Another question comes, how do we assign and reassign? How we assign and how do we reassign something? We can assign variables in the same way that we did. Very simple, a equals to 400. We can reassign it, a is equals to 500. And now if I print a, it will print 500 instead of 400. You see 500 because it gets updated. So I assigned it with the assignment operator. I reassigned it again with the same operator. It gets updated every time. I can also perform a multiple assignment. How? A multiple assignment can be done if I say a comma b is equals to 70 comma 80. Now if I say print a and print b, so what will happen now? A will be linked to 70 and b will be linked to 80. If I run it, you see 70 and 80. This is one way of defining variables. There is a very famous question being asked while interviews, that how do you swap variables? How do you swap variables? Anybody who knows the answer, how do you swap two variables? Write a program if somebody says, how do you do that?
create a temporary variable, store one value to the other, and assign other value to other, like that, right? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I got muted. Okay.
Yeah, see, it's just store one temporary variable. In the temporary variable, store one value, assign it, and then restore it back.
And if I say temporary variable is not allowed?
If temporary variable is not allowed, right? Then that addition we have to do, right? A is equal to A plus B, then we have to do addition and return the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what if I say, I can do this I can do the same like this as well. A comma B is equals to B comma A. And the variables are swapped now. Print A.
Okay. Okay, it's Python syntax. Okay.
Now if I run it, so 70 and A was 70, B was 80 for this print. And now for the second print, A is 80 and B is 70.
Okay, so okay. I don't think so in other languages it is allowed, right?
Yeah. That's So Python gives you flexibility at its maximum. What I try to explain here. The same thing which I did at line number 39 needs 4 lines of code at least. Needs 4 lines of code at least in other programming languages, but when it is coming to Python, it says, no worries, I'll do your job. Sit back, relax, and focus on magic. Similarly, we can delete variables in a very simple way. I can simply say del, give the variable name, and your work is done. And now if you try to access this variable, if you run it, it says boss A is not defined. Sorted. Anybody having any questions in this variables and any questions till now? Please raise your concern.
Can you explain the last one, del something you're
Yeah, this is for deleting. Del is a keyword in Python which is used for deleting anything. So I'm saying delete the variable A. Now it has deleted the variable A from the memory. Now if I try to access the same variable, it says I have no knowledge about it.
Okay, understood.
Okay. Yeah, kind of. This is the memory flush out.
Ashish, can you mute everyone, because somebody is unmute themselves and kids are singing and all such things. So that is
I would request everybody to mute yourself. In case
they are not listening you, so that is not a good idea, because every time.
I understand. I am again requesting everybody, in case if you have a question, please go ahead. Otherwise, try to mute yourself in the session. So this is all about this. For Python, we will be starting Python tomorrow. I'll give you a small demo about the same. I do not want to burden everybody with a lot of knowledge today on the very first day. So let's keep it simple, let's keep it slow, and let's keep everybody on the same page, no matter if one person has an expertise in Python and if another has no knowledge. My responsibility is to take everybody on the same page. So we'll go slow, there's no hurry. Anyone having any questions regarding this course, regarding the content, anything, please go ahead and ask.
Yes, Ashish. What are the course contents and what are the time duration?
The time duration would be almost, we take as 15 to 20 classes. The classes will be only on weekends. The classes, just give me a minute, guys. I'm getting a call, just a second. Yeah, sorry. So the duration for the batch would be almost 2 months. When we talk about 2 months is also less because 2 months contain 16 classes, but we try to complete it by 20. I extend classes depending upon the you can say depending upon how fast we can go or how slow we can go. And regarding the course content, you guys will receive an email for the course content, which will include everything.
But some little with confusion because Selenium with a completed Cucumber, I think. Python with Cucumber. So that's why I'm confused. We go for Cucumber.
So Cucumber is a framework which will be covered in this session.
Okay.
Yeah. Behave BDD is something which is also known as Cucumber, which will be covered in the session.
So we can go for the at first Python, then after we go for Selenium, then I go for the framework. I'm correct?
We will not go for advanced Python. We will go with basic Python. And the required knowledge for Selenium that will be covered. After that, we'll shift to Selenium from day one scratch. And after completing Selenium, we will be starting with different frameworks. So we will cover robot framework, we will cover Cucumber framework, we will cover data-driven framework, we will cover page object models and everything.
Okay.
Now, are we implementing any framework from end to end? I mean, starting from, framework design to implementation, test cases, everything?
That will be the page object model, yeah, sure. We will be creating it from end to end, and also other frameworks will be end to end. You need to just implement them according to your project.
Okay.
Is it 2 hours or a 1 hour class? It will be a 1.5 hour class, 1.30. So depending upon the bandwidth of the mates in the team, we will someday extend it to 2 hours, or someday we will complete it in 1 hour. So that is not a fixed time schedule, but it will never be less than 1. Also, do we cover any sample project? Yeah, okay, let me show you. There's a website of Way2Automation. So this is the website of Way2Automation. If you go to the testing website, this is a live project. It contains all the web elements. So we will learn how to drag and drop. We will learn how to resize, how to select, how to sort, how to automate something when it completes to autocomplete, date pickers, menu, sliders, tooltips, frames, windows, drop downs, alerts, checkbox, radio buttons, everything. So this will be the sample project that we will be completing end to end using page object model as a framework. Also, we will execute the same using data-driven, robot framework, and Behave.
So are you using PyTest as a unit test framework?
Yes. PyTest is a very, very important terminology which we will be using. PyTest will be the testing framework here in Complete. We will learn about fixtures, what are PyTest fixtures, parameterizing test cases, prioritizing test cases, and so many XYZ things. Yeah.
Okay.
We will, at the end of the day, we will learn to execute our code using Jenkins as a CI/CD tool. So you just need to click and your code will be executed completely. That I will be demoing you tomorrow. That how to use a very basic idea about Jenkins, creating different jobs on Jenkins and everything. So Jenkins, GitHub is a part of the project itself. You'll be pushing your code on Git and then connecting it with Jenkins and then executing your project. So end thing will be executing the complete overall scenario using Jenkins. So, yeah. All the project code will be provided on GitHub only. I will create a new repository and I will be providing the access to the members of the group, and every time we will be completing a class, I will be pushing the code you can always clone the project or always get a pull from that Git repository. Okay.
Yeah, Ashish, one more last question. See, if I miss it, assume if I have any missed it class, so where shall I find the recording?
There will be a portal which you will be getting the access to. I believe I'm not sure about that portal. Rahul manages everything. So he will be giving you a username and password where all the recordings are being posted. So you just need to visit there and the recordings will be available.
Okay.
In case if you guys also, sometimes if you are practicing something or you want to ask anything, you guys can always go ahead and just I'm a message away. You can drop me a message on my WhatsApp number and I will be available. So my WhatsApp number is 70111 97716. This is also my contact number. You can always call me on the same, and in case of any query, you can go ahead, drop me a message, or you can also email me the same on this email ID, agarg9582@gmail.com. So in case of questions, or not only in this time zone, even after completing the course in Way to Automations, you are always allowed, you're always connecting me hassle-free that Ashish, I'm facing this problem in my project. I need this assistance. That's it. So timings will be from 6 p.m. to 7:30 on Saturdays and Sundays. So that will be Indian Standard Time. Anybody who's connecting from overseas here?
Yes, I am from London. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, yeah. You are from?
London.
London. So we have Manmeet from Australia as well. So I believe you guys just need to manage some timings in here. The timings will be from 6:30 IST, 6 IST, 6 p.m. IST to 7:30. Okay. Tushar is connecting from USA. And any more questions regarding this project or regarding this course, if you guys have any feedbacks which you would like to give me, I'm always open to feedback. In case if you guys feel that Ashish, please change this way of teaching, I would be happy to investigate more about it.
Ashish, you are talking about mobile automation in other batch also, no? APM with Python.
Yes, Vishnu.
Yeah.
So I'm with APM and Python. I'm with Robot Framework using Python. I'm with API Python and so many more things. Yeah. So anything related to Python and data automation, you will be finding me nearby. In case if nobody has any more questions, I believe we are good to end this. So what's the session interesting or something? Yeah, go ahead, Chaitanya.
Actually, once we complete, once we come to the end of this course, do you provide any interview preparation questions to us?
Yes. So when I talk about at the end of the session, to be honest, I say no. What I believe is the day we are learning a topic, suppose we are learning variables, we are learning loops. I figure out half an hour time, and on the same day, I will be giving you the questions which are related to the topic, which can be asked for an interview.
Sure.
Understood. So instead of giving everything in a collective way, because see, I myself when keep in your place, for me also it is very difficult to understand everything. So
yes.
my way of teaching would be different, and I say that okay, I will be explaining things, but on the same time, the day I am teaching it.
Okay.
Yeah, just a second, guys. I'm getting a call. Sorry. Yeah, so sorry. So
Yeah.
that is
Okay.
one. Yeah, go ahead. Were you saying something, Chaitanya?
No, okay, that is helpful, I guess.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Ashish, one more. Are you guys creating any WhatsApp group for this batch? I mean, like.
Yeah, there is a WhatsApp group. Rahul manages that again. So he will be adding, once everybody's enrolled in the session, he will be adding all of you in the WhatsApp group. Over there also, you can just go ahead and post your queries, and anybody in the group can answer over there. In case if I feel, I'll answer the same questions. Not a problem.
Okay.
Hello, Ashish. Will be getting an assignment after the class, whatever you teach?
For few, yes, but not for all. So we have assignments for loops, we have assignments for lists, dictionaries, sets, and everything. But we do not have assignments for like Selenium or something. We can do practice then. So there are multiple online websites where you can just visit and practice as much as you can. Right. But again, I'll not be sufficient enough to say that we will be providing assignments after every class, because that does not make sense. Unless or until you learn everything, you cannot provide write a code for something. For example, if I ask you to write a program to print your number 100 times, it sounds easy, but it needs for loop, it needs a loop, it needs a while loop. So unless or until we know terminologies and things, we cannot give assignments. So once I think that okay, everybody is on the same page, everybody is on the same platform, then I will be providing an assignments for the day.
All right, thanks for clarification. Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Ashish, last question. Yeah, how much Selenium part we will be covering, and after completing the course with Selenium with Python, if we switch over to the another like Selenium with Java, how much time it will take one to switch over from one language to another?
Manmeet, both the things, both the languages are completely different. When I'm talking about Selenium, Selenium is similar. Selenium is similar for all the languages, not only for Python, Java, it's same for Ruby, it's same for JavaScript, it's same for C, C#. But the difference comes with the syntax.
Yeah,
so it's upon your own capability that how much fast you can grab a programming language or how slow you can grab it. So there is no timeline we can specify, that depends from head to head. But learning Selenium will be same for any programming language. You will be using the same function, find element by XPath, find element by CSS. It might be different in terms, like for Python, it needs underscores. In Java, the function is directly. So, but the function name remains same. So Selenium is the easier part that you can understand and grab, but learning the programming and the syntax is a completely different thing which comes head to head.
Okay. And we will be covering all the aspects of the Selenium which we are using now in the industry.
Sorry?
We will be using the all the parts of the Selenium. Like I'm not familiar with the Selenium.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never used.
You will be getting the course contents, I believe, after today's session or maybe tomorrow's. Or you can only go ahead to always go ahead to Rahul and ask, hey Rahul, can you just forward me the course content for the Selenium Python? He would be happy to help you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. I believe that's all for the day. Okay, I am hoping for most of the persons to join tomorrow. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's give it a chance for Selenium also, and let's see how it goes ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish.
You're welcome. Anyone having any more questions, please wait. I will be happy to answer them. Okay. Then I believe that's all for the day. It was great meeting you guys. Thanks a lot. I will be connecting with you tomorrow. Let's see how it goes ahead. Bye-bye, guys. Stay safe, stay home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Welcome, guys.